I will show you now 1.8 Shakuhachi. This is my 1.8, the instrument I use in concerts and recordings. So it has a kind of sound, very good quality, and a kind of sound G, Ari sound. I want to show you the other materials, the other options in different materials for 1.8, which is the length by which we start. This, as I mentioned before, was my first shakuhachi. I started with this. This is a mokan, it's a wood shakuhachi machine made. This is the U shakuhachi resin made. There are differences in sounds. Of course, I like my instrument. I feel that it's richer in harmonics. The tone is nicer due to that, to the material probably. This U shakuhachi is very stable in sound. In all the register is very well tuned, and I can really blow into the instrument. In my lineage, in my U, we tend to blow strongly in the instrument. That is not something done in all the U, in all the lineages. For my lineage, this is kind of important thing, and the U shakuhachi allows that. The mokan, not so much. Sound could be maybe a little sweeter than the U, the resin made. So wood machine made could be a little sweeter, but the sound is a little tighter for my taste. And of course, I prefer my instrument. I was saying this is a 1.8 shakuhachi. Some people in the West call it in V shakuhachi, because when you cover everything, this sound is called ro for us. It produces a D. The 1.6, this is a 1.6, a little shorter than the 1.8 if you see it. I've shown you before this. The sound that the ro produces, it would be associated to an E. Of course, the difference is on register. It's a little higher. This register is a little more agile instrument, faster, quicker. It's nicer for articulation. I only use for very peculiar situations, either when I play with koto, in repertoire with koto, or when I perform in improvisation and I want things more intense and quickly articulated. The way I play, I use my fingers on the finger holes is the same, so I use my fingertips to cover the finger holes. And basically, of course, all of them are the same structure. This is a 2.4 shakuhachi. The ro, it's always called ro, everything covered, will produce something closer to an A. In this case, I use fingertips for all my finger holes except the second one. Remember, the first one is the one on the bottom in the front. So my second one, if you see there, I'm kind of using this part of my finger, yes, to cover it. I don't know if you can see it there. This relates to the distance of the finger holes among themselves, and also the position of my arm. It's a longer instrument, so it requires a different way of positioning the hands and the fingers. This is Nishaku Nanasun 2.7. The raw sound, everything color, will produce something like a G. Again, here I use my fingertips for every finger hold except the second, but instead of using my second part in this finger, I use the third part, the inner one, so I cover it like so. Yes, this is the one I show you that has a kind of material I added here just to prevent leakage. And finally, this is Jinashi Shakuhachi, very thick. If you compare thickness of the material, is very thick. The openness also, top openness. So I need it in a way to kind of open my mouth to cover the upper part. This is not the way I usually blow. The positioning of the finger holes, if you see, they are not aligned. In 1.8, 1.6, the finger holes in the front are aligned. Then in a 2.4, if you see, there's a little change due to the need of the positioning of the hand. In this case, that change is even bigger. And I have to kind of do different things. Here I'm using the fingertips just on the first hole and on the fifth hole on the back. All the rest I'm using different parts of the instrument. Sorry, on the third as well. So this will sound differently and will have to be blown differently. It's a deeper sound because it's low register, but also the tone color is different. It's a little more raw, I would say. Regarding sound, since today we're talking about structure, organology, the characteristics of the instrument. So I mentioned at the beginning of this video that these resemble a flute, a Western flute, not transverse flute, but Western flute, but with the difference, that you have no chamber. You don't put the mouthpiece inside your mouth. It's an open embouchure, and also that in the flute there's a chamber here that guarantee the way the air is hitting this part. Here the player has to do it all the time. So I said that this allowed more flexibility, and the flexibility relates to pitch and tone color. If you see it, this would be my normal way of blowing and my normal position. There's a kind of an angle here between the instrument and the way I blow. And if I change that angle, it's not the position of the instrument itself, but it's the change in the angle. Actually, what it is the space that has the instrument between this part, the utaguchi, and my lips. So if I make the space bigger, pitch goes higher and the tone color change in a particular way. And if the space becomes narrower, the pitch goes down and the tone color change in a different way. I can show it in another way like this. by closing it by hand. So the player actually, what is doing all the time is moving. If you see a performance, is moving the head all the time. There is a saying in Japan that is 3 years to learn to move the head. And this refers to the fact that we have 5 finger holes, so we have a kind of minor pentatonic scale by the basic fingering, but actually the music is not pentatonic at all. So we have a lot more sounds, and these sounds are produced by partial covering, which is very much used here, but also changes in the space that I've just shown you and the way I send the air. So by these techniques, I'm producing different sounds in pitch, but also very, very important in tone color. So, for example, this characteristic of the sound of the instrument, that you cannot produce a kind of stable sound, similar sound, you know, like uniform sound, like we tend to do in the Western instruments. Here there are kind of 2 groups of sounds that are more open, more bright, more projected, and this is the minor pentatonic scale. And then other sounds that are darker, a little closer, not big in sound. These other sounds that are produced by doing changes in covering, so partial covering, openness of this, more open, more close, and the way I send my air. So this will make changes in the sound, and it's a very important thing. And finally, the last thing regarding organology and the structure of the instrument is like register. Okay, each instrument, depending on the length, is going to produce a different row, so it's going to be located in a different register. We call it row to all of them, every finger hole cover. And there's kind of 2.5 octaves the instrument can produce. Traditionally, in classical and traditional music, we use 2 octaves, basically, a little bit more, a little bit in some places, but basically 2 octaves. And then in other musical forms, I'm going to talk about this in another video, we are going to be using other sounds.